By December of 1993, Paul Logan was a 25-year-old man living in Black Hill, Consett in County Durham, England, with his partner of 10 years, Pamela, and their two small children, Michael, aged 4, and Natalie, aged 9 months. By this time, Paul was a takeaway delivery driver for the Golden Flower Chinese restaurant in Shotley Bridge and had been working with them for 2 years. On the cold, snowy evening of December 23rd, 1993, at around 9:20 p.m, the Golden Flower Chinese restaurant received a call about what appeared to be an order like any other. The customer told the female restaurant worker that the order was to be delivered to Blue House Farm in Pike Hill, a short distance away in Shotley Bridge. However, the owner had trouble finding directions to the remote address and told the customer that their driver would call back for the specifics. Paul called the number back about 20 minutes later to ask the customer for directions to the farm. Paul set off towards the address in his white or cream-coloured Peugeot, arriving at around 9:50 p.m, around 5 minutes later. He knocked on the door to hand over the delivery, however he was greeted by visible confusion. The elderly woman who answered the door at Blue House Farm told him that they had not placed any orders with the Chinese takeaway, which left both the residents and Paul somewhat confused. Paul, likely apologetic to her, made the short walk back to his car, snow dusted over the ground. However, somewhere along the farm track, he was brutally struck over the head with a blunt instrument by persons unknown, with the murder weapon having never been found. According to various reports, Paul had gotten into his car. However, after realising the farm gate had been shut, he had to exit once again. This may have been a deliberate trap set by his killer, as according to the farm owners, they left the gate open. After a while, the occupants at Blue House Farm noticed after about 30 minutes that Paul's car still sat by the gate at the end of their driveway, and rather oddly, all of the lights were on and the doors were left wide open. They called the restaurant to ask why Logan was still there, to which they did not know. Orders had been coming in and they expected Paul to return to deliver more that night, but he failed to show. Calls were made to his girlfriend and his family to ask if they had seen Paul, to which they hadn't. Just as his loved ones headed to the farm, the occupants contacted the police to investigate what was going on. At approximately 2:15 a.m. on Christmas Eve, upon their arrival at Blue House Farm, Northumbria Constabulary sadly discovered Paul's lifeless body on the snow-dusted farm track. He had been beaten over the head with a blunt object and had succumbed to his injuries. Following the discovery, police looked into his final known movements and learned about the hoax phone call to the takeaway, which lured Paul to the location where he was bludgeoned to death, a mere 50 yards from his car. The phone call had not been placed from a landline, but from a phone box, which was located a short distance from the takeaway itself, only about 600 yards, at the junction of Snow's Green Road and Benfieldside Road. This was a chilling revelation to police, as it confirmed that whoever made the call had made the effort to stick around before Paul called the number back 20 minutes after the initial call was placed. A plan appeared to have been set in motion by most likely more than one individual. Witnesses allegedly saw someone in the phone box that night between 9:20 and 9:30 p.m, with another man being seen waiting nearby in a red Ford Fiesta XR2. A girl also allegedly saw a man in the phone box, seemingly trying not to draw attention to himself, as at this particular time he was not using the phone. The man in the phone box was described as Caucasian, around 30 years old, standing at around 6 feet tall with a muscular build. He was wearing a black leather jacket and had a somewhat scruffy appearance, with collar-length receding dark hair. It was also noted by witnesses that the driver of the Ford Fiesta was of a similar build, with a scruffy appearance and wearing a leather jacket. Witness reports also reported seeing a red or orange Vauxhall Astra on a farm track around 150 yards away from the entrance to Blue House Farm on the night in question, but whether this sighting is related to Paul's murder remains a mystery. Following the abhorrent crime, it came to light that in the 3 months prior to Paul's murder, his vehicle had been vandalised on numerous occasions, which led many to believe that someone may have had ill feelings towards Logan for some reason yet to be established. One of these instances resulted in the words, quote, "no legs," being scrawled across the roof of Paul's Peugeot. Over the years, a number of people have been arrested and questioned in regards to Paul Logan's murder, including one man who was convicted for attacking the van belonging to Paul's father with explosives. However, nobody has ever been charged. Motive in this case remains elusive, though robbery was ruled out as money was still found on Paul's person after he'd been attacked. According to Logan's family, he was well liked and was not the kind of man to get involved in criminal activities. However, conflicting reports suggest that he was not particularly well liked and several people, quote, held a grudge against him. Over the decades since Paul's death, his family, including his parents, Elsie and Hugh, appealed to the public for information, putting a reward out for up to £10,000 for anyone who could help catch his killer and bring them to justice. Unfortunately, both of Paul's parents have since passed away without ever knowing who killed their son or why. Paul's mother, Elsie, spoke to the Chronicle prior to her death about the void that was left behind and how her son's death marred the festive season for many years to come. Quote, "I don't think anyone who was close to Paul has been the same since it happened. The pain is over for him, but it goes on for those he left behind. Christmas is especially hard. We celebrate for the sake of Paul's children, but I've never put a Christmas decoration up since the day it happened, and I never will again." In recent years, social media has become rife with many wild and baseless speculations and theories as to why Paul was murdered, including illicit activities and possibly having enemies in the vicinity, leaving his remaining loved ones understandably angered and upset. His sister, Dawn, told the Chronicle, quote, "When there's rumours about drugs and debts, it hurts. To tarnish his memory like that is just not right." She continued, quote, "He was just your everyday guy. He was just happy-go-lucky and would help anyone. I have never thought he was in any sort of trouble. As a family, we were really close." Heartbreakingly, vandals struck again and damaged the headstone at Paul's grave in Black Hill Cemetery. But whether these were the same vandals who targeted Logan's car months prior remains unknown. On both the 25th and 30th anniversaries of Paul's murder, respectively, Northumbria Police appealed to the public once again for any information, urging anyone with even the smallest piece of information to come forward. In September 2018, it was revealed that investigators were looking to review the forensic evidence collected at the time with new and improved technologies. A review of the case was also launched at this juncture, with the family and detectives in collaboration with Crimestoppers increasing the reward money to £50,000. Detective Superintendent Ian Sharp told the media, quote, "I'm keeping an open mind about why Paul was killed. This murder was pre-planned and well organised in such a way that it is extremely unlikely the killer was acting alone. It's probable that at least 2 people, possibly more, were involved. Former police detective inspector for Northumbria Police, Dave English, said, quote, "We understand a lot has happened over the past 25 years. People have grown up, moved away, and may have forgotten all about this horrific crime, but Paul's family are still here and still searching for answers. We know that there will be people out there who know what happened to Paul on that night. We know someone will have information about the hoax call made from a phone box at the junction of Snows Green Road and Benfield Side Road in Shotley Bridge before Paul set off with the takeaway. We would urge anyone with information to come forward and speak with us and help this family get the closure they need. Anyone with any information regarding the murder of Paul Logan are urged to contact Northumbria Police on 101 or Crimestoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111.